Hi, everyone. Hi, I hope you all are enjoying Day of Dialogue so far. We are so thrilled that you could join us for this in-booth conversation with Saadia Faruqi. So before I get into it, I just want to, I should probably introduce myself, right? So my name is Jenny Choi. I head up the school and library marketing effort at Abrams. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I want to acknowledge the Lenape people who are the traditional custodians in the land in which I work and live in Queens, New York, and also in Manhattan. And I recognize their continuing connection to the land and its resources. Earlier this year, the Brooklyn Public Library hosted the first Lenape curated exhibition of Lenape cultural arts, both historic and contemporary in New York City. And although the physical exhibit entitled Lenape Hoking closed at the end of April, there's a wealth of digital resources readily available, including archived videos from the programs that will work in tandem with the exhibit. And I'll put the link in the chat in a moment. So give me a slight beat. But I want to thank you all for joining us today. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. This session is being recorded and so that folks can access it later in the Abrams booth today. You'll be able to interact with us in the chat, to say hello, or to pose questions to Saadia. And we'll sometimes for audience Q&A later in the session too. But I am thrilled to be here today alongside author Saadia Faruqi. Saadia was born in Pakistan and moved to the United States when she was 22 years old. She writes the beloved Yasmin series and popular middle grade novels such as Yusuf Azim is Not a Hero. And coming this October is Marya Khan and an incredible henna party. Yeah, that's right. There's the art. The first book in this charming new chapter book series about a third grader whose plans may backfire, but whose persistence and heart are inspiring. Welcome, Saadia. The floor is yours.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be talking about this brand new series. Marya Khan. Marya is such a beloved character in my heart, and I hope that when you all get to meet her, she will become beloved to you, just as beloved as Yasmin is, if not more. So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, show you a few slides. Because pictures are worth 1,000 words, and then we can talk more, just general Q&A. All right, let's start with where I'm from. So I'm speaking to you today from Houston, Texas, but I wasn't born here. Like Jenny said, I was born in Pakistan, and I like to show this slide usually to kids, but often to adults too, because a lot of people don't know where Pakistan is, or they think they know, but they're wrong. They think it's in the Middle East or somewhere else, but Pakistan is in Asia. And since we are in the middle of AAPI Heritage Month this year, and a lot of people don't include countries like Pakistan when they're talking about Asia, please remember it is also in Asia, next to more popular countries or well-known countries like China and India. But that's where it is, that black star. I grew up there. I went to school and college there. And then when I was 22 years old, I moved to the US, and I went to university in Florida before I moved to Texas. So now I've lived kind of almost half of my life. So the first 22 years in Pakistan with kind of, one kind of culture and traditions and holidays and dress and food and everything, and how you do things and what you feel and how you grow up. And then the other half, so far, I've lived in the US more, close to 22, 23 years as well, with a totally different culture and traditions, and everything is different. Raising kids here. I have 2 kids. My son is in high school. He's almost 16. Oh my God, learning to drive is very stressful. And my daughter is in middle school. She just turned 13, which is stress in a totally different way for me and for everyone in the house to have a 13-year-old girl. But they are first generation American, so I'm raising them here in a very different way than I was raised. And pretty much that's what I write about. All my books are about first generation kids, like my kids, who are growing up here, but whose sense of home and family is sometimes a little bit skewed because they may not have the same kind of feelings of home and belonging and where they fit in as people, other people who grew up here and who have family from here too. So all those messy but also interesting and fun things are what I write about, and I'll talk about that later. This is Karachi, the city I grew up in. Really fun place, kind of like how New York City is to America, where, you know, it's where all the tourists want to go to and all the fun places, but also really crowded and noisy. Pakistan used to be a part of the British Empire, so there's a lot of old British buildings or English buildings, and but also, you know, new architecture. Really fun place to grow up. I have a middle grade novel, 1,000 Questions, that's set in Karachi. That is really my kind of like my love letter to this birthplace of mine. But I love showing it off. It's a really cool place. I love visiting, and if you ever have the chance, you should visit too. This is me when I was a little kid. I think I was maybe 7 or 8 in this picture. This is my grandma's house in Pakistan, in Karachi. And I like to show this picture because this is a reminder to me. This is when I first really got into reading. I'm still a huge reader. I can't go to bed until I've read a little bit or a lot. Often up very late reading, but I got into reading at this age and I started writing. So this is when I had those notebooks and I would write my stories, and I never showed them to anybody, and probably they were pretty terrible, but I got into the habit of writing and reading and just storytelling in general. I just wanted to be a part of that imagination and that love of, you know, the written word, and not even the written word, just stories, you know, whether they're part of music or plays or just having stories that my grandma told me when I was a kid, and then handing them down to my kids and so on. So just that in general. But this is when I became a writer too, and I practiced, not really thinking this would be a job, but now it is. So I'm grateful to past me for doing that. So fast forward from that girl in Karachi to today, to 9/11. So I came to the US a couple years before 9/11, and then 9/11 happened while I was in university, and my life changed, as did everyone's lives changed, but mostly for Muslim Americans in this country, things became really ugly and difficult and heartbreaking, and I wanted to be a part of the solution. So I decided that I was going to be be one of the people who could maybe answer questions. I started doing a lot of interfaith work with my community, with the local library, with the local churches and synagogues and my mosque, and it just became this thing which I felt really passionately about, and I still do. So I went into that work with the idea that I wanted to be, I wanted to help people understand more about their Muslim neighbors, about their immigrant neighbors, about anybody who was different, answer questions, just be there to show that, hey, we're the same as you, not that different, even if we look different or dress differently or have a different language. But at the end of the day, we all have the same hopes and fears and dreams and stories. So this is a picture from Oprah. Oprah magazine profiled me in 2017 for my work that I had been doing for many years since 9/11. In my community, around interfaith work, cultural diversity, cultural competency, all that kind of stuff. So I've been doing this for a long time, and my books, the books that I write for kids, are kind of like an offshoot of that, where my mission and my goals are the same. I want people to read my books. I want kids to read my books and figure out what their neighbor or their friend or their peer or their classmate is like, without feeling, just without really believing in the stereotypes and some of the rhetoric that comes from around them. Once I had kind of been doing interfaith work for a long time, I started just gravitating also towards writing. And this is the book launch picture of a book launch from my first book, which was actually fiction for adults. My kids are really, I was looking at this and saying, oh my God, they could look nothing like this anymore. But my daughter was 6 at this time. This was in 2015. And that's when I got the idea, after my adult book that this launch is for came out, that I wanted to write for kids. I wanted to write about a girl that was like her. I wanted to focus some of my same channeling some of my same kind of feelings and mission and goals for interfaith work that I'd been doing for adults for the past 15 years, 14 years, towards kids, and having a different focus, but then also having some of the same goals. And that's how it started with her. Yasmin is based on her. And the Yasmin series was born with Yasmin the Explorer, which was my first book ever for kids. And now I have 21, 22 books out, which are mostly of the Yasmin series because there are a lot of those, but also some middle grade novels. And my final, final now, but hopefully there'll be a lot more books for kids, starting from the Marya Khan series. So, like I said, my aim with doing all of this is very similar. I want my kids and kids like mine to feel comfortable, to feel that they're a part of America, that they're a part of whatever life throws at them here with their classmates and their friends, but also having them see themselves in their books and feeling proud of it and feeling like their heritage has meaning, and they can be happy about that too. So I hope that you enjoy the series as well, this newest one, because I'm super excited to bring it to you.
Thank you for that, Saadia. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for right now so we can both be in the view here. My first question for you, so you're so well known for your beloved Yasmin series that follows a Pakistani American second grader ready to take on the world. Tell us about this new chapter book series starring Marya Khan. In what ways are Marya and Yasmin similar, and in what ways are they different?
Yeah, there's a lot overlap, but also not. Marya is a third grader, so older than Yasmin. So all of my Yasmin fans can kind of graduate once they leave second grade and they want something a little bit more to read than an early reader. This is perfect for them. She's a third grader. She's Pakistani American, a Muslim girl like Yasmin, but she's full of life and fun. She is sassy. She's got attitude, but she's also a great friend, except to Alexa, who is her next door neighbor and the most annoying girl on the planet. So there's kind of like always this frenemy relationship that she has with this other girl. But anyway, Marya's life revolves around her family and her school and all the adventurous things she wants to get done in her busy life. I guess she's similar to Yasmin in some ways, some same background, same sort of family heritage. But she's also different in a lot of ways because she's more about pushing the envelope and doing her own thing than Yasmin ever was. And that's very typical of, second grade and first grade versus a third and fourth grader, where you're kind of wanting to know more about the world and test your limits than a younger kid is. But I think, like I said, my Yasmin fans will hopefully really love this new character and this new family, even though she is not exactly the same as Yasmin.
You've touched on this already a little bit, but I kind of wanted to dig into it here. But we often talk about diversity in a kind of grandiose way, overarching way, and rightfully so, right? Because it affects all of us. But also for folks like you and I, the reasons why representation and diversity matter are also quite personal. It's the body we live in every day. And you say that you were first inspired to write books for children when your daughter complained that she couldn't find books with kids that look like her, a child of color with immigrant parents. So what has it been like to meet real life young people who see themselves reflected in your stories? And I'm wondering too, this is like a question I didn't put in here for you in advance, but I'm wondering how your daughter responded to Yasmin when she saw that character come to life.
Yeah, that is true. I talk about this a lot previously in other interviews, and I've written about it a lot, that I wrote the Yasmin books. I basically went into children's book writing from the adult and nonfiction world because of her. She kept complaining that she didn't like books because none of the people in the books were like her. Obviously, it was hard for her at that age to articulate. But I figured out what she was trying to say, and she was smart about that. My son, who's older, never had a problem. He'd read anything. But my daughter wanted somebody who she kind of identified with. And it was horrifying for me to do research and find out there weren't any books like that, especially for that age before the Yasmin books came out. So I wrote the first Yasmin book because I wanted my daughter to see herself. But it kind of blew up from there, right? Because she grew older, but I was stuck in this series, stuck in happily, not in a negative way. But now it's become so much more than just for one girl, one kid. I want all kids to see themselves in the books they read, basically everyone, not just my series, but any book that they read. The kids who read those books, they want to be the heroes of the story. I mean, to save the day or solve the mystery, to be the one who takes charge, just like Yasmin does, and definitely just like Marya Khan does. So I really, that was my hope when I started, and I see that every single day happening. I get messages from kids all the time, emails or through their parents or teachers. A lot of times, I just got a message this morning. Teachers ask their students to write messages to authors, and then I get these lovely messages. Or directly on social media saying they love these authentic kind of representations of their culture, their lives, saying things like, we never saw a mom wearing a hijab before we saw Yasmin's mama. And but my daughter has been seeing me, right, all her life with this hijab, and for her it's something that's warm and comforting, and I want everybody who has that experience to feel warm and comforted, but then the other kids also to feel like, oh, this is something new and strange, but that's okay, because I read it in a book and I saw it, and my mom doesn't dress like that, but that's fine too. So just, it works both ways. We always talk about mirrors and windows in kid literature, and that's what it means to me. When I used to go to school visits in person, there would be a line of kids just wanting to hug me. I had this one kid, this little girl, one time she was in second grade, and she hugged me and she said, "You look just like my mom." And I love that. I don't know if all women want to have that led to them. I don't know. But to me, that was just lovely, because I understood where she was coming from. She was a Muslim kid. And a lot of parents tell me, they'll send me messages saying they wish they had these books when they were younger, and that just makes it totally worth it. My daughter, I don't know, she's kind of over it. She's 13 now, so she hates everything right now.
So it's okay.
She's
She'll find her way back there.
Yeah,
I'm
this
really
is
glad.
the age.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure, it's she loves the story about how it came about. She's because of her, according to her.
In a way, she can take a little bit of credit for it. But I'm also really grateful that you mentioned Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop's, theory of windows and mirrors and sliding glass doors. Like that, we owe her so much for putting that metaphor out into the universe, because it gets cited so often. One of the things about the Hans is that they're a very relatable family, just going about their daily lives in the book. And one of the things I especially love is how full this household feels throughout the whole story. We have 3 generations under one roof. It reminds me a lot of my own upbringing in Hawaii. And so there's Marya, there's her mama, her baba, her older siblings, Ali and Sal, and her daddy, Baba's mother.
Yeah. Wow, you said that great. I love all those. I just love it when people, it's like such a low bar. But when people pronounce things correctly, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel that.
Thank you for saying that.
Oh, I was listening to a lot of different recordings for these things. So we do our best to get those pronunciations out there in the way that they should be. So I'm wondering for you, whether did you grow up in an intergenerational household? And if so, do any of the characters or the dynamics between them take cues from your own life? And I'm wondering too also about what do you think are the benefits of being raised in a household that has grandparents or multiple generations in it?
Yeah, I definitely grew up like that. I think it was very much common in Pakistan and a lot of South Asian, probably even other cultures. But in my experience, I was pretty normal for everybody I knew, or most people I knew. My grandparents from my dad's side both lived with me, or we lived with them. I don't even know, who lived with who at this point. But and I was really, really close to my grandmother, my dadi. I kind of shared my room with her after my grandfather passed away when I was a teenager, and so my teens and early 20s I literally spent as her roommate. She has had the most significant effect and influence on my life than even my mother or anyone else I know. So you will see a lot of grandparents in general in all my books. But my maternal grandparents also lived, my nana and my nani, like Yasmin has, lived like 5-10 minutes from my house. So I was seeing them a lot. And definitely it affected, influenced how I am as a person. And I really, really believe that it's a good thing to have family if you can, close by. It's so, now we don't have that. I mean, I've moved thousands of miles away, right? My whole family is scattered throughout the world. And with immigrants, that happens so much that I really miss that aspect of it, you know. But if anyone is able to have family nearby or living with them, I think that it can be great, if you get along with them. But a lot of those dynamics are there in my books. I think I've kind of sprinkled them here and there because I have so many books out, many of which have grandparents in them, that I couldn't just have the same, dadi or the same nani everywhere. So I've kind of had to mix and match characteristics and personalities. Um, but yeah, a lot of actually Marya's grandmother in the series is kind of like my grandmother. She had her room, with the bed and the Vicks there with little TV and the windows closed with the curtains, and I would sit in her room all hidden away and chat with her. So yeah, good memories. I just love that part of my life.
Yeah, I love that too. I grew up very much with a close family that either in our house or very nearby. And like, I also love too that in the story, you see a little bit of the drawback of that. So Marya kind of
gets a drawback.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of drawback. She gets caught in a lie, right? And then she hears it from her mom, her dad, and her daddy. Like she, that's sort of like how that works. You're like gonna hear it from all the grown-ups.
It's all part of the fun. It's all part of the fun. Exactly. And I know that here, when my readers read these books, it's surprising to them to have those grandparents in the house or to have those relationships, because oftentimes we don't have that here in the US anymore, or maybe just in general, it's a generational thing and everywhere, I don't know. But I want them to also be comfortable with that. Like, maybe when all my readers grow up, they'll be closer to their grandparents because they grew up reading all these books, that made it sound fun. Who knows? That'll be cool though.
Yeah, that's a good goal. I'm trying to go toward in that direction too. So I want everybody to do it. For these books and your other books, you've got to work with some incredible Muslim artists like Ani Bashir, who has done an amazing job of bringing Marya and her family to life. What was the collaboration with her like? As you're working on the manuscript, do you already have like an idea of what the family members should look like, and or what scenes you want depicted? And did Ani bring details to the art that enriched the story that you were pleasantly surprised by?
Yeah, I've been so lucky with all my books. The Yasmin books have a great illustrator as well, Hatem Ali, who's fantastic. And then Ani is new to me. I didn't know her before, and I didn't know of her, but I've been blown away by her talent too. The way that it's been working with all of my books is that, my publishers, Abrams in this case, and also Capstone with the Yasmin books, they've been so kind as to ask me, what my opinions are. How do I want Yasmin to, or Marya in this case, and their families to be depicted? So I kind of had a rough, I just wrote down a few points of how I thought Marya should look like, or her parents should look like, but I didn't want to restrict it because it's basically, Ani's name is on the book too, just like mine is. I love seeing it, you can see it as like both of our names. So I don't want to dictate. It has to be her creative spirit as well. So they send me sketches. I don't at all think about where the illustrations would go. That's actually my editor, Erica, who goes through the manuscript and then tries to figure out where the art would go, because it's a lot about placement and how much space is on the page and where you want to break up things. And I don't want to be even responsible for that, because I just want to write the best possible story, and then the art people can deal with the best possible art. But they do allow me the opportunity also to kind of look at the sketches and make comments and feedback, and I try to keep it to cultural things because those are important to me, or religious things. So, if Mama's hijab is kind of not looking like it should, or if Marya's dress isn't appropriate or how it should be, things like that, I'll make a note of it and say, hey, can you she should be she should be wearing leggings under that dress, that she wouldn't show her legs, or mama's hijab is too tight, or whatever, just things like that.
Yeah, those are really important details to catch. So
those are, because those are important to me for the story and for representation. But other than that, they are happy and to have the free reign, and I'm happy to give them the free reign, and I've just been blown away. I mean, the cover is like, so I keep showing it to people. You guys can see her. She's so adorable. I mean, I just want to hug her. She's so cute. And when you guys read this book, you'll see she is just full of life and just such a real character. I mean, I'm not praising myself here, because a lot of times you write something and it doesn't come across that way. But the art and everything just makes her so real. The art does a fantastic job of making us feel like this is a real person with these real feelings and these real dramatic problems that are happening. And that's just the fun of it.
yeah, I love that. One of the things too that really struck me was that each chapter in Marya Khan and the Incredible Henna Party opens with a word of the day, and it sets the tone for what readers will find in that chapter. So I'm wondering where you got this like really creative framing device from, and how did you decide on the words? Because chapter 6's word is reciprocate, and I was like,
right?
that's like a big word for like an 8-year-old.
Yeah. So Marya in the story is this word person, and she's been given, before the book starts, in the past, a word of the day, kind of, those little calendar things you have where it's like one word a day, by her mom as a gift. And she's just taken this super seriously. So she's like trying out these new words because it makes her feel, superior to other people, especially to Alexa, who is, this person who thinks she's the greatest. And Marya hates that she thinks she's the greatest. And she's like, no, I know these words, you don't, so I'm better than you. So that's the kind of background of why there are some big words in the story, but they're always explained. So if you have a reader who's reading them and doesn't understand, Marya will explain it, because, she realizes that other people won't know what that means. But the word of the day as the start of every chapter is totally not my idea. When I had written the manuscript and we were editing it and revising it, my editor at Abrams, Erica, she was like, hey, that would be pretty cool. Do you want to do this? And maybe we can have a word of the day as like a chapter name or heading. And I thought that was a cool idea too. So we just kind of went through each chapter and picked the biggest or longest word that was in that chapter, which kind of like had some, definition or explanation in the book, and we went with that. So it was nice, and I love how you see, if anyone wants to see, like it literally in the art they made it, which is pretty cool. This I was not expecting, because when I typed out the manuscript, it was just like chapter 3, word of the day. What is this? Casserole. And that's it. And then when I saw the art, I was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty neat, because this is like making it all stand out and looking very cool. So I guess I'm teaching the kids now too. It's not just one story. I can be like the educator with the big words. And there's a lot you can do as educators, as teachers, of any of you are listening, or as parents, where you can add that additional kind of teaching element to the book without it being boring.
Right. Yeah. I also really enjoy hearing how truly you kind of let our book editors and our book designers kind of like really take free reign, and I really appreciate that, and I'm sure they really appreciate that too, because it's certainly not something you hear all the time.
I mean, I look at my work as a team effort. When I talk to kids or adults about, they ask, how did you make this book? That's a very common question kids ask. And I always say, well, I didn't make the book. I just wrote the story. There's a whole team behind this. And there's the editor, and there's the artist, and there's the art director, and there's people like you, Jenny. There's like so many people who work together to make this book. And I'm I'm so grateful to all of them because I'm just one person. I don't have these great ideas. I can just write a story and then all these other people get
Well,
together and say,
we need your seed first. That's the only way this gets happening. So
yeah, well, that's one part of it. But for sure, I mean, I'm always happy and willing and open to look at and listen to other people who will tell me how they can improve this, because at the end of the day, all of our jobs is the same, right? To have the best possible story out there for our kids to read. And for all of you, if you're educators, librarians, whoever you are listening, you're part of the team too, right? Your job is to get these books in the hands of the kids who need them. And they're not only the kids like my daughter who needs them, it's all kids who need them, even if it's reading about someone who's totally different from you. That's part of it too. So we're all part of this great team. And I'm so appreciative of all of you bringing Marya Khan to, kids who will read them.
yeah, it's a real teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Oh my God.
That's the phrase. Yeah.
Love that.
You dedicated this first book in the series fittingly to your sisters, and you say, quote, "To all the times we got henna at the beauty parlor the night before Eid." So do you mind sharing either the significance of henna culturally or in your life personally? And because it's certainly like, the go-to element for a fantastic party for Marya. And also, so would it be one of yours if you were throwing a party and, you're 8 years old too?
For me, henna is more related to Eid or weddings because that's how I grew up. But I think here in America, it's a little bit more culturally loose. I see a lot of different people having henna for a lot of different reasons. And I think that's really cool too. That's the fun thing about any cultural element, right? It kind of evolves and adapts itself to different generations and to different areas and places. So I think that's cool. But Eid for us just passed this earlier this month. And I took my daughter not to the beauty parlor, but somewhere else to put her henna. And I was telling her how, when I was a kid, I'm the oldest of 3 sisters, and we used to go to this little at-home beauty parlor, and they would, there'd be a long line of women, and then you would choose your design, and they would put the henna on, and my dad would wait outside or come pick us up. And it was a tradition we did, and we only did it for Eid, and it was just Eid as a Muslim celebration. And it was one of my happiest recurring memories. And not for parties, we didn't do that, but that's okay. That's different people celebrate in different ways. But I definitely was thinking about those memories when I was writing this book. So that's why both my sisters got a little bit of a shout out here.
I love it. I think that's really great. So I just want to recognize that we, folks, there are other speakers happening, so we got about 5 minutes left, and I want to end on this one question with for you, which is, so if I'm a teacher or librarian, and after hearing you right now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really have to have Saadia in my school for a school visit or at my library for a visit. What's the best way for people to go about doing that?
Yes, please call me for school visits. I have a lot of options, and either they're free or I don't charge, but definitely or I charge a little bit, sorry. But definitely when I'm promoting a new book, like will be promoting Marya Khan in the fall, I am going to be offering free school visits for a limited time. So take that advantage of that. You can contact me through my website, SaadiaFaruqi.com, or reach out through DM on Twitter or Instagram. That's my handle there in both places. Connect with me and we will set it up, because I've found in my experience that, when kids meet authors, they're more excited about their books and about their stories because they now have a personal connection. And I would love to meet your students. So yeah, let us get started on that, because my schedule does book pretty fast. So I'm looking forward to meeting all of your students.
So all y'all have got your marching orders from Saadia to get in touch. Well, our time here has really flown by. It's been such an absolute pleasure to chat with you, Saadia, and we appreciate making space in your very busy schedule to visit with us today. And I want to thank everyone in the audience for joining and listening too. We are so grateful for everything you do in your communities and how you connect folks with story. And we hope you and your loved ones are safe and continue to take care of one another. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure seeing you all here today.
Thank you. Bye.